Thiruvan Saranai. We are getting ready to start the sermon in a few moments. In the meantime, if I could please have someone confirm on the chat box or in the chat box that the audio is audible, that will be most helpful. Thank you. Okay, thank you for confirming. We will begin in a few minutes, just waiting for a few more people to join the live stream. So please hold on and we will commence shortly. Okay, so we were waiting for a few minutes for everyone to join us, and I think we can now begin. And I just have one more confirmation that you can hear me before we commence the sermon. Okay. Right, let's begin then. So before we commence, as usual, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that we are so extremely fortunate to be disciples of the Buddha, the perfect one, the omniscient one, the magnificent one, the supremely enlightened one, he who is perfect in every way. And in order to affirm our allegiance as his disciples, such that we promise to ourselves and no other, but to ourselves, that we shall follow the path that has been taught by the Buddha, let us all take a moment to recite the Dhirasa Vigatamo stanza. And to do so, please can I ask you all to be upstanding. Rather than making this a ritual, it's important that we take it into our hearts and minds that we are doing this to promise to ourselves to make a strong determination and resolve to walk the path that has been taught by the Buddha and to achieve our salvation, our liberation. This is a firm resolve and a determination to ourselves, and we are united in that determination and in our resolve. So, let us begin. Dhirassa vigata mohassa pabhinna khilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susamachitassa bhaghassa pabhinna khilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susamachitassa buddhasilassa sadhupanyassa vessantarassa vimalassa bhagavato tassa savakohamasmi dhirassa vigata mohassa pabhinna khilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susamachitassa buddhasilassa sadhupanyassa vessantarassa vimalassa bhagavato tassa savakohamasmi namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And now to seek refuge at the Noble Triple Gem and to observe the precepts, please repeat all together and after me. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sangham saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi sangham saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi sangham saranang gacchāmi. Pānātipātā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Adinādānā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Kāmesu miccāchārā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Surāmeraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā vēramaṇī sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ kattvā Appamādena sampādeta. Okay, you may all now be seated. And also, before we commence, let us all take a moment to once again remind ourselves that we are here because of all those who have helped us come this far in our lives, not just in this birth but also in previous births, where we will have been family and friends to an infinite number of beings in samsara. Now that we have received the ultimate gift, and that is the gift of Dhamma, this is the perfect opportunity for us to repay debts to all those to whom we owe debts. So let us make use of this opportunity to extend an invitation out to all of them to join us, wherever they may be in these 10,000 world systems. If there are those who have not yet received the teaching of the Buddha, then, without a shadow of a doubt, they are all beings who are destitute and in despair in samsara, lost in samsara. So let us help them, let us support them, let us enable them to achieve their liberation. And let us do so by extending an invitation out to all of them. So as I now invite the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons, and our ancestors who have predeceased us, let us make use of this opportunity to extend this invitation out to all of them, to invite them to join us. And if any of them have today been born in woeful plains, may they witness this meritorious deed and acquire merits, and may such merits help them to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. And for all beings in the blissful plane, may they be able to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, understand it, comprehend it, and may they all achieve the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that, with those compassionate thoughts and heart and feelings towards them in your heart and in your minds, as I now make this invitation, please do extend that invitation out to all of them to join us. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammam Munirajasa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadam Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo ayam bhadanta. And finally, before we commence, let us also take a moment to remind ourselves of the temperaments that we used to have before the Dhamma touched our lives and before our lives transformed in the face of the Dhamma, having been in the association of immoral, ignoble beings, whose association defiled our minds with raga, desha, moha, desire, aversion and delusion, and having been blinded with ignorance and attachment, infinite times, innumerable times we will have offended the noble ones as well as the Sambuddha Shasana through speech, body and mind, for any thoughts, words or actions of desecration, revile, slander or insult that we might have directed at them. The consequences of such actions may be that today, as we make efforts to progress in the path to our liberation, such efforts are thwarted and we are unable to make progress as we like to. So therefore, before we commence this sermon, let us all take a moment to seek the forgiveness of the noble ones for any thoughts, words or actions of revile, desecration, slander and insult that we might have directed towards them, either knowingly or unknowingly, towards the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagamis, Sakrudagamis, Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits, as well as the Sambuddha Shasana. May we be forgiven for all such actions which were done and committed towards them, either knowingly or unknowingly. And finally, let us all make a firm resolve that may through the course of this sermon, if there are those among us who are yet to achieve the noble states of Sotapanna, may we be able to do so. And for those among you who will have already achieved that noble state, may through the course of this sermon you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that resolve, deep-seated in your minds, I invite you now to prepare yourself to listen to this sermon. Okay. So as a general bit of housekeeping, as we always do, please put aside any distractions. I will keep reminding you all, because it is easy to forget this. Put aside any distractions that you might have as we commence this sermon, because what we are attempting to do is no easy task. Despite the challenging task that lay ahead of us, we are also having to deal with the fact that you and I are not in any close proximity. So I am unable to see you, and you are unable to see me, or the Swami Nuhanse, and as a result of that, I am unable to gauge to what degree you have understood what I am trying to explain to you. So this is really where merits come to help, come to the rescue. Particularly in these situations, it is your merit which will be there to rescue you, to be there to support you. Because how else are you going to indicate that you have not understood a particular point? How else are you going to indicate what it is that you need to listen to? It is purely merits on these occasions, particularly in these occasions, that can help you. Not that if you're in front of me then you don't need merits, but it is merits that bring you in front of the Swami Nuhanse in the first place. So clearly, during this period of time, we are lacking in merit to be in the presence of the Swami Nuhanse, and that makes things particularly challenging, but if we are intelligent enough, we can avoid some of the obstructions and distractions, and make sure that we keep our focus throughout this sermon, such that we are able to achieve what we are here to do. You remember last week we attempted to do a meditation session online, and the feedback from some of you indicated that despite the fact that we are all not located, or we are not co-located, you were able to follow the instructions and the advice given, and therefore were able to achieve good results. So clearly, by good results, I'm not expecting any of you to have started levitating or anything like that, anything fancy. It's purely the one question that we started to ask ourselves 2 to 3 weeks ago. You remember we started with the question, who's on the chair? And then the subsequent sermons were in and around this topic, to try and locate the self so that we can dislocate the self. After all, there is no self to be found, but it is the search for the self which will ultimately prove to us that there is no self after all. Because the essence of the issue being that despite the fact that a self does not exist, until one has achieved a state where the self has been completely uprooted and eradicated, there is the sense of a self. So the sense of a presence of an I continue to exist. So the ego is something that will remain with us up and until arahathood has been achieved. So do not despair that even after you listen to the sermons and you have attempted to engage in the meditation sessions, if you still feel that a self is present, then that is only simply an indication that you have not achieved arahathood. But remember that all arahants were once where you are today. So that should give you confidence that if you only continue to progress, and if you only continue to do what you need to do, not what you want to do, but if you continue to do what you need to do, then the requisites which need to be fulfilled for you to achieve that sublime state will eventually be fulfilled, and then the fruit will be ready for plucking. That is all we need to do. Make sure we line up the causes so that the result can be achieved eventually. When eventually comes, we don't know. That again is left to merit. That is why merit is so important. The more merits you engage in, the quicker your salvation will be, the quicker your liberation will be. But also that those merits you will need to guide and direct towards your liberation. Engaging in merits for the sake of worldly pleasures is not going to help you achieve your liberation. That will bring you rewards in terms of rebirth in good places and a comfortable life when you are born there. But your understanding of the Dhamma as you progress on this path, it will become clear to you that really there is no blissful state to be found. Be that the woeful planes or the blissful planes, there is simply no bliss to be found. Ultimate bliss is in not existing in any of these planes. And that is the understanding that we are aiming to achieve through these sermons. Now, I think it may be timely for us to just go back to the basics today, because for one, I don't want any of you to think that what we talked about initially or in the previous sermons over the last 1 or 2 years, they are unrelated to what we're talking about now. that is exactly what we have been talking. What we are doing now is the application of the concepts that we talked about in the past. So if those concepts have not been firmly grounded in your mind and in your understanding, then this will be one of the reasons why perhaps some of the things we are talking about today or over the last couple of weeks, last few sermons, may be unclear to you, or perhaps it's difficult to understand. So this is why from time to time it's always important to go back, make sure that we have a good grounding in the basics, because after all, what we are talking about here is the 4 states of awareness, which is the practical application of anicca, dukkha and anatta. This is the application of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So to apply something, you first need to have it. You first need to understand how to apply it. You need to understand the principles. You need to understand the methods. Otherwise, you'll be applying something, it just won't be the right thing. And then that is not going to achieve any good results, or at least not what you're going to expect. So let's go back today to the basics. Let's remind ourselves about what Buddhas come into this world to preach to us. And for those of you who have been following the previous sermons, by going back and talking through the basics, any understanding that you achieved over the last 2 or 3 sermons will really be cemented. It will become obvious to you in a new light. So really, this is why it's important to do this complementary exercise. So it's not just because it's good to go back to the basics that we are doing that today. It is really essential from time to time to talk about the application and then go back to the basics, the fundamentals, and then go back or go switch back to the application, and then to and fro with this activity. So it's really essential that we do that. So today we are going to be doing that. I will share the screen with you and go through some of the things we talked about in the past. There will be quite a few of you for whom this is going to be second nature. You will be able to follow the steps, and you will be able to you'll probably know a lot of the things we talk about today, but be open-minded, and just because something is overly familiar, it shouldn't be that you don't pay enough attention to it. Because as I say, if you pay attention to the fundamentals, to the basics, having applied what we have been talking about over the last few weeks, then you should really do this, and that's when this will become obvious to you. When you go back and listen to the basics, the fundamentals, the experience that you have gained through application will all of a sudden begin to make a lot more sense to you. That understanding, that comprehension cannot be gained by simply continuing the application. It has to be complemented with going back and touching the fundamentals and the basics. So that is what we are going to be doing today. And if you pay good attention and make sure that just because you know it doesn't mean you allow it to just blow over your heads, and you really tune in, then I promise you will be able to multiply what understanding and achievement you have been able to gain over the last couple of weeks. Okay, so let us do that, and in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen with you all now. please let me know when you can see my screen. I think you should be able to see it now. All right. Now, this will be a very useful session, even to those who may have not followed our previous sermons. So even if you're one of them, then it's going to be pretty useful to pay full attention, because I will, like I say, go back to the basics and make sure that we have a good and solid founding in the basics. Okay, so you should be able to see me scribble on the screen now. All right. Now let me begin with posing to you a pretty simple question. Let's say I go and get myself a t-shirt. Okay, so this is a red t-shirt. That's the best I can draw t-shirts, by the way. Okay, so that's my red t-shirt. And I also get myself, or rather, so I'm going shopping to buy, so I'm going t-shirt shopping, and I also see a blue t-shirt. So that's my blue t-shirt. By the way, I am taking drawing lessons. No, seriously. As you will know, we have some really good artists who have become monks with us, and one of my fellow monks has promised me that by the end of this year, he's going to teach me how to draw the figure of the Buddha. So that is one of my goals for this year, to be able to draw the Buddha, the figure of the Buddha, at least part of it. So I'm taking art lessons, would you believe? And hopefully these t-shirts will, or whatever drawings I put up on screen, will be better as time progresses. So you will know how I'm doing in my art class. Okay, so there we are. We've got these two t-shirts. Now, if I were to ask you the question, let's say you could only pick one or the other. You can only pick one or the other, and I'm going to ask you the question, which one would you pick? Please assume that they're identical except for the color. I know that's hard to assume given the drawing, but let's assume that they are identical except for the color. Which one would you pick? Okay, so that's a rhetoric question. I just want you to answer that question in your mind. You don't need to put a message in the chat box. So this is simply for you to think, right? Which one would you pick? Now there will be those among you who go for the red t-shirt, there will be those among you who will go for the blue t-shirt. No, we don't have green t-shirts. Sorry, we're going to have to go with one or the other. So let's say we've gone with the red t-shirt. Okay, so this is the t-shirt we are going to buy. We want the red t-shirt. Now, here's my question to you. Because you've picked the red t-shirt, I'm going to assume that you like the red t-shirt. This is the t-shirt that you like. Okay? Of the two, this is the one you like. This is your choice. You like this better than you like this. So you like the red better than you like the blue. So my question to you is then, which of these two t-shirts, okay, so listen carefully, which of these two t-shirts, if you were to wear it, or if you wore one of these two t-shirts, which of these two t-shirts, if you wore it, would serve the purpose of a t-shirt? In other words, it would give you protection from the elements. It would give you something to wear so you can cover your naked body. Which of these two t-shirts would serve its purpose? Again, a rhetoric question, and I'll repeat the question just in case you're wondering what sort of question is that. My question again is, there's a red t-shirt and there's a blue t-shirt. We have assumed that you like the red t-shirt. Of course, there'll be those among you who like the blue t-shirt, but let's assume that you like the red t-shirt. So that's that. Okay, that's just a fact. We've put that to a side. My question to you is, which of these two t-shirts, if you were to wear, or if you wore one of them, which of these would serve the purpose of a t-shirt? That can't be a difficult question. And hopefully the answer is, well, they would both serve the purpose of a t-shirt. Why? Because they're t-shirts. And if they're both wearable and they're identical, then the fact that one is red and the fact that one is blue, I'm not talking about there's an event where you can only wear red. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking in very generic terms, which would serve the purpose of a t-shirt, and you would have the answer readily to hand, I'm sure. So I'm going to answer they'll both serve the purpose of a t-shirt. Okay, very good. If you disagree, then do put a note on the chat, and I will have to I'll have to follow up and see what other response you might have. Okay, but hopefully you'll agree with me that they both serve the purpose of a t-shirt. Another question. On this occasion, I'm going to take a red pen and draw. Actually, I'm going to take a red pen and draw a pen. Okay, so this is my red pen or pencil, whichever. It's my pen. Okay, and I also have a blue pen. Oh, that's a pen, by the way. Yes, pens are in the syllabus, but they are about 2 months later, not yet. Okay, so that's a pen. These are pens. One's a red pen, one's a blue pen. Now again, I'm going to ask you to pick which of these two pens. Actually, I'm going to change color. I don't like red pens. That's interesting. So then one way to skin a cat. So I'm going to have a green pen, and I'm going to have a rainbow pen. Let's try that. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a rainbow pen.
So we have a green pen and we have a rainbow pen. Okay, these are both pens, and my question to you is now, which of these two pens, okay, first question, which of these two pens do you like? Yeah, I know obviously the rainbow pen. Everyone likes the rainbow pen. Okay, so I'm going to put a tick against this. We like the rainbow pen. This is the one we like. Now the second question is, which of these two pens serve the purpose of a pen? They're identical except for the fact that one's green and the other is rainbow color. So except for the color, they're identical. It's the same size. They both have the same amount of ink in them. Same shape, same weight, size, everything the same, with the only difference being the color. Okay, which of these two pens serve the purpose of a pen? And again, hopefully you have the answer. They both serve the purpose of a pen. And here, hopefully you have the answer. They both serve the purpose of a t-shirt, right? So I don't need to bring up any more examples. Hopefully it is becoming clear to you that if two things are identical, then except for color, they can both serve the purpose that it was designed to do. T-shirts were invented or created or brought into this world to serve the purpose of a t-shirt. And much like pens, pens were created to serve the purpose of a pen. It does not matter which one you like. Okay. Now clearly color here is simply a factor that I have altered between these two to ask you the question, which one do you like? The salient point I'm trying to bring across to you here is, did it matter which one you liked for the purpose of using the object for what it was designed to do? In other words, the fact that you liked the red t-shirt and you did not like the blue t-shirt, certainly not as much as the red one, did it make any difference to how you could use a t-shirt, the red t-shirt or the blue t-shirt? Did it make any difference to, did it make either of these two less of a t-shirt, the fact that you liked one and did not like the other? Well, clearly the answer is no. Did it make these two, one of these pens, less of a pen than the other, the fact that you like the rainbow pen more than the green pen? No, clearly not. They're both pens and they're as good as each other in terms of using them to write. These t-shirts are good at each other in terms of using them to serve the purpose that they were designed to do, that is, to be worn, to be kept protect you from the elements, right, and so on. Right. So then liking an object, liking the red t-shirt or liking the rainbow pen has no impact whatsoever on whether you can use the object to achieve the purpose that it was designed for. I'll repeat that. Whether you like something or dislike something has no impact, has no effect, has no influence. Well, I suppose influence, yeah, has no influence or effect on whether you can use that object to achieve the purpose it was designed to achieve. You could apply this thinking, this concept to any number of objects, right? If you had, say for instance, a red car and a black car, and they were identical in color, or they were identical in every way, but you like one more than the other, then if I were to ask you the question, for what they have been built to do, so what is a car being built to do? To sail, right? No, of course not. A car's been built to drive. So does it make a car, the fact that you like one less than the other, does it make it any less of a car, or does it make the other any more of a car just because you like it? So hopefully you follow my train of thought here, and you'll agree with me. Liking has absolutely nothing to do with whether you can use something for what it has been designed for. Your liking, your preferences, has nothing to do with whether an object can be used for what has been designed to do. So hope that is clear to everyone. Now, so therefore, simply based on what we have seen here, I have another question to ask you. What advantage does liking the red t-shirt offer us? What advantage does it offer us? I mean, we have to do things if they offer us an advantage, right? If they offer us something in addition to what we already get, what we already have, that's when doing something is worth the while. It's worthwhile if when you do it, or after having done it, or at least while you do it, you get something in addition to what you already have. That's when doing something is worth the while. If you're doing something in it and it makes no difference to the state that something was in before you did it, then having done whatever you had done has made no effect, has had no impact, and has not brought you any advantage by doing that. Again, hopefully that's clear to you. So in terms of applying what I just explained there to this scenario, what advantage does liking the red t-shirt offer you compared to not liking either of these two? What advantage does liking the red t-shirt offer you compared to, say, not liking the blue t-shirt? Okay, so you like the red t-shirt, you don't like the blue t-shirt, so this is like, this is don't like. I'll just write it up on screen here. Okay, you like the red t-shirt, you don't like the blue t-shirt. My question is now, what advantage does liking the red t-shirt offer you that you do not get from the blue t-shirt because you don't like it? Is there any advantage? Again, does the red t-shirt, is the red t-shirt more of a t-shirt because you like it? Does it somehow all of a sudden give you better protection? Does the fabric become thicker or more rich or better in texture just because you like it? Because if that were the case, then if you just stop liking the red t-shirt and like the blue t-shirt, then all of a sudden all those added advantages have to switch from the red t-shirt to the blue t-shirt. So clearly that doesn't happen. And as I said, they're identical in every other way except for this color. Again, please remember, I'm only using color here because there has to be some factor which you are more attracted to. It could have been something else, the smell of it, I don't know. I'm just using color as simply an indicator, but in every other sense they're identical. Okay, so again, does liking the red t-shirt offer you any advantage over the blue t-shirt because you don't like it? Clearly the answer is no, it doesn't. The red t-shirt is just as much a t-shirt as the blue t-shirt, and the blue t-shirt is just as much a t-shirt as the red t-shirt. Okay, you could almost put an equal sign here. The only difference is being the color. Okay, so I suppose you say almost the same, except for color. But in terms of purpose, yep, they're the same. They can both do exactly the same thing. Go to the pen example. The fact that you like the rainbow pen, did it give you any added advantage, any bonuses, any extras because you liked it and you didn't like the green pen? Anything? Is it more of a pen because it's rainbow or because you like it? It's not the color really that's important here, because you like it. Okay, liking this pen, does it make it any more of a pen than the other pen which you don't like? Clearly the answer is no again. So in terms of purpose, they're the same. So liking something, either the pen or the shirt here, the t-shirt here, has given you no advantage. Absolutely none. Hopefully you're in agreement with me there. Liking this t-shirt, liking this pen has given you absolutely no advantage over the other t-shirt or pen respectively, because it doesn't give you anything in addition to what the other object which you don't like gives you. Okay, so again, hopefully that's clear to everyone. Now then I come to my next question. So no advantages. Let's put down the word advantages. Any advantages? The answer is none. So then I have to ask the question, well, what's liking doing here? Why do we need liking? Why do we need liking? Does it not look like it's superfluous to what we want to achieve here? By superfluous I mean not serving any purpose. So no advantages. You know, I'm going to now next ask you another question. Right? If I've asked you about advantages, you know what I'm going to be asking you next. Any guesses? Of course. Any disadvantages? Any disadvantages by liking the red t-shirt more than the blue? Any disadvantages by liking the rainbow pen more than the green? Before we jump to that, are we absolutely clear that liking has not given us any advantages? Yes? Okay, so no advantages. Right, the next, any disadvantages? Are there any disadvantages to liking the red t-shirt more than the blue t-shirt? I say more than. Clearly we are assuming that you don't like the blue t-shirt, right? So there's absolutely no liking towards the blue t-shirt. All your liking is towards the t-shirt, and there's absolutely no liking towards the green pen. All liking is towards the rainbow pen. So no advantages, but are there any disadvantages? What do you think? Are there any disadvantages? I mean, could it harm you, liking? No harm? No harm done? Really? Could it harm you? Could it hurt you? Let's test it. Let's test it. Okay? So, this is you. That's you after Corona. And we've got a glass of wine. Okay. And oh, that's a bummer. This is a red t-shirt. So spilling red wine on a red t-shirt is probably not going to make that much of an impact, but let's assume that it's still going to leave a patch somewhere. Okay, so here's your glass of wine, and as you're sipping on your wine, someone comes and knocks against you, and there's hardly anything you could have done or you can do on that occasion, and unfortunately you spill some wine on your red t-shirt. Okay, then there was the other day where you were wearing the blue t-shirt, and you don't like that t-shirt anyway. Okay, you were having a glass of wine and someone came and knocked against you. You didn't like the t-shirt anyway, but what happened? Same as before, someone came and knocked against you and you spilled the wine on your blue t-shirt. Okay, now you see there's a smile on each of these two faces. Which one do you think is going to turn to a frown sooner? Is it going to be this one, or is it going to be the red one? clearly the answer is this. This is going to become a frown much sooner and much quicker than this. And it's probably not just a frown. There's going to be all sorts of emotions rushing through this mind right now. Why? Well, guess why? Guess why? And while you guess that, let's go to the other example. So you've got a green pen, we've got the rainbow pen. You like this pen, you really don't like this pen. And by don't like, I don't mean dislike. Okay, so by don't like, I don't mean dislike. I just mean there is no liking towards it. So void of liking does not mean you dislike it, does not mean you hate it. Okay, so it's not like that. Because if that were the case, then having spilled red wine on this, that's when it would become a smile. So I'm not talking about such an occasion, you know, like when you're forced to wear something that you really don't like, but you're wearing it because your wife forced you to. Say you're going to a party and you just absolutely hate this particular t-shirt, but because your wife, your spouse asked you to wear it, you know, and then even before someone bumped into you, you're going to spill that wine on the t-shirt, right? That's how it happens. And you go, oh, look at what happened, right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about that it's not disliking, it's simply no liking. In fact, I might even change this to no liking. I don't mean that in the sense of like bad grammar, me no like t-shirt. Okay, that's not what I mean. I just mean there is no liking, no liking, no liking, no attraction. Okay, so again, come back to the pen, to the pens. Yes, so we like the rainbow pen. We don't like. There's no liking towards the blue pen, towards the green pen, and someone takes it. Someone takes the pen. Then it's not necessarily stealing. Okay, but say you leave it somewhere on desk at the workplace or perhaps at school, and you forget to bring it back home. You go back the following day hoping to find it where you left it, and unfortunately it's not there. Now how's that going to make you feel? If you were to lose the green pen, towards which there was no liking, how is that going to make you feel compared to if you lost the rainbow pen, which you liked very much? How's that going to make you feel? I think we have answers to both questions, and they are both pretty similar. That is, where there was no liking, the impact of something untoward happening towards the object toward which there was no liking has minimal impact, if anything at all. I suppose there would be some dissatisfaction because there will be some inconvenience because you have just ruined your t-shirt, so now you can't, you know, you need to go and wash it, and there's the inconvenience that comes with that. But I'm not talking about that. Clearly you understand me on that. And if you lose your pen, then clearly you need to go and find another pen. I'm not talking about the inconvenience there. I'm talking about how is it going to make you feel emotionally, nothing to do with inconvenience, to do with how it makes you feel emotionally because you have just lost something that you like. Right? So I think it's pretty clear the answer to us. When asked the question, are there disadvantages to liking? Yes, there certainly are. What is that? In the event that something we don't like happens to the object towards which we have liking, it's going to leave us sad. Happy faces turn sad. That's what's going to happen. We didn't feel as much sadness when we spilled wine on the red t-shirt, but clearly on the blue t-shirt it made us feel pretty sad. Sorry, the other way around, because we liked the red t-shirt. And we didn't feel as much towards losing the green pen, but we did because losing the rainbow pen because we liked the rainbow pen more than the green pen. So that does feel sad. Okay, so there is one disadvantage there. Understood. Let's continue. What if you didn't spill any wine? So you have a wine glass in your hand, you're sipping away. So I'm gonna remove this wine patch. Okay, so we don't have any of that. No wine patches. Right? Actually, I just wonder. If I can do that. Oh, no. Maybe like experiment late. So coming back to what we're talking about. Right, say there was no you didn't spill any wine. Right, so take away the wine patch on the blue t-shirts and the red t-shirt. Now we're sipping away. You're sipping away on your wine glass, or on the wine, but then the wine glass. And now there's someone that's, say there's a child that's running around you. You have your glass in your hand, but there's a little child that's running around you, children playing around, playing ball, maybe, or playing hide and seek, and they're running behind each other. Right? And they're getting closer to you with every turn. They're getting closer and closer to you. How are you starting to feel right now? Just imagine this situation. You have your favorite t-shirt on you. There's a red wine glass in your hand. You're at a friend's place, and there are some children playing around, and to top it all off, they're playing ball. So they're playing ball, right? So they're throwing the ball at each other, and you're in close proximity, close enough that the ball can come and hit you. How are you feeling right now? You could be having a conversation with your friend, but would you agree with me that for every, say, 2 or 3 words that you're speaking with your friend about whatever you're speaking to about, you take you still glance towards the children just to make sure that they're not coming too close to you, or the ball that's in their hand is not coming your way. Why is that? Why is that? Because you're worried. Why are you worried? You're worried that if either the children come and hit you in the sense they come and bump into you, or say the ball comes and hits you, then you may spill some wine on your t-shirt. And if that happens, now you've got a wine patch on your t-shirt. So it hasn't happened yet though, and it might even be that you spend the entire evening and nothing happened. The evening goes eventless. Nothing's happened. Nothing unexpected happens. But just because something unexpected didn't happen, did it mean that you spend the evening not worrying that something might happen? Not worrying about what if? Whenever you saw the ball up in the air, did it never cross your mind, what if that ball's just heading my way? When you saw that kid running towards you, so close, did your heart not skip a beat? That is fear, worry. Okay, and which of these two would you feel that more towards? When you're wearing the red t-shirt or when you're wearing the blue t-shirt? Bearing in mind that you really like the red t-shirt and there is no liking towards the blue t-shirt, which of these two would you feel that way towards? I think the answer is clear. You would feel that way towards the red t-shirt. What's the difference between these two t-shirts? Yes, it's the color, but why did we talk about the difference in color? because you had to have some factor based on which you would have a liking towards one and not liking or no liking towards the other. I mean, I could have selected any other factor, but usually these are things that are pretty obvious to spot. I mean, let's say they were both the same color, but one was a gift from someone you loved, then the other you bought from the mall. And the one that was gifted to you, you feel pretty sentimental towards. Any damage that happens towards that can have, probably will have, more of an impact or effect on how you feel than the other. Why again? That's because you like one more than you like the other. Okay, so I was asking you, what are the disadvantages of liking? So first we encountered sadness, now we encounter fear, or in other words, worry. I'm worried that something might happen. Worried or fear. What sort of face did I draw here? Of course, again, a sad face. Disadvantages. Interesting, is it not, that we have 0 advantages and we have already come across 2 disadvantages. See, we've got a match going on here. The pros and cons of liking versus not liking. That's not Lanka versus New Zealand or something like that. It's just liking versus not liking. What's the difference? NL, Netherlands. It's not that. This is simply, we are playing a match, but the match is, what are the advantages versus disadvantages of liking or not liking? So far, we've had no advantages to liking. So 0 advantages to liking. Now we are trying to find what are the disadvantages to liking. And we came across 2. Feel sad, and we feel fear or worry. So, disadvantages. On this occasion, again, not liking wins. Here also, not liking wins. Here, liking loses. Again, yet again. So it's 2-0. Not liking 2, liking 0. Thus far. Okay? Let's continue. Now, going back to this imaginary event where we are with our friends having a chat and the wine glass is in the hand and you're sipping away, and so from time to time, what might you be inclined to do as you see children approaching you, or as you see that the ball seems to be moving towards you? Let's say the ball is up in the air and it lands half a meter away from you. Right? What might you be inclined to do? Yes, after you've regained your breath. What might you be inclined to do? Here's what you might be inclined to do. You might be inclined to ask the children to stop, and you give them a piece of your mind and you tell them, who do you think you are? Or you might say, children, please be careful when you're playing here, because I've got this actually you're going to be pretty embarrassed to admit it, so you're not going to say, I've got this lovely t-shirt on, you're going to spoil it. You'll probably say, you know, we're having a chat here, we are busy, so please don't bother us, take your ball and go and play somewhere else. You will probably say something like that. Whereas the unsaid is really, you have no idea how much I like this t-shirt, right? And if you even think about throwing that ball towards me and it comes and hits me, if I spill any of this wine, the rest of the wine will be spilled over your heads. So you better watch out. That's the unsaid, right? But you're embarrassed to admit that. Instead of that, you're probably going to be saying, please go and play somewhere else. And first time, second time, third time, you might even shout at them. And if that continues, you might even confiscate the ball and say, right, that's it, no more ball, you're not going to play anymore. See, Why are you doing all of these things? Do you see there's some activity going on here? Has any wine spilled yet on the t-shirt? No. So there's no need for sadness because it hasn't happened. Is there fear? Yes, plenty. And fear is continuous. Incessantly this fear is going through your mind. So what are you doing now then? What you're doing now is you're trying to avoid this fear that you have in your mind, that you might spill wine on your shirt from materializing. You want it to remain a risk, or rather you just want it to remain a possibility and not a certainty. You don't want it to go from being a possibility to a certainty. You want it to remain a possibility. If at all, you want to remove the possibility altogether as much as you possibly can. But that's not going to happen if you just keep shush. You're going to have to say things. Sometimes you might even have to say things that's going to hurt their feelings. Right? First time, second time, you might speak nicely. Third time, you're going to raise your voice a little bit. Fourth time, you're going to, put in a harsh word or two. Right? Next time, you might pick up a stick. Here's what's going to happen to you next if that ball comes and lands next to me. Right? Or you might threat them, no dinner for you. Right? So, this, child abuse, by the way. So any of these things could happen simply because you have this interest to protect this thing that you really like, and that thing being the t-shirt. And that's not going to happen automatically. You're having to do things. You're having to take action. Okay? So that action requires effort. This is effort that you're having to spend, energy that you're having to spend, action that you're having to take. It's verbal, it's physical, and it's mental. Mentally taxing, verbally taxing, and physically taxing. So, action and energy. I'm just going to put the word action here. Would you be inclined to take this action, these precautionary measures? These are all precautions. Would you be inclined to take the actions in any other event, in any other circumstance? In your presence are children that you really love. This is your family or your friends. You don't like to hurt their feelings, but given the circumstances, you are left with no other choice, because the fear of something happening, fear of this wine spilling on your t-shirt and ruining the whole thing, is getting all too much for you to bear. And as it becomes unbearable, the severity of the action begins to increase. So it started with just a frown, and then it went to and then it went to hey, right? And you know the drill. You've all got children, most of you, right? You know this. So this is what happens. So all this action, would you not avoid if at all possible? Are you really enjoying this, admonishing your children? No, really not. You don't like hurting their feelings. You really like to see them play. You like to see them have fun, but not at your expense, clearly. Okay? So this action that you're having to take, remember, you're having to take. Would you ever say, I got to shout at them? They were playing ball and I was taking my wine, and I was so worried that I might spill wine on me, so I got to shout at them. Would you ever say something like that? No, really not, right? You would be saying, I had to shout at them. When you're having to do something, that implies that you're not doing it out of choice. You're doing it because you are left with no other choice. Right? So, clearly then, I can't draw a smile face again here. It's another sad face. So, let's go back to the advantages, disadvantages table. Once again, disadvantages. What? Disadvantages of liking. We found another one. Action. We have to take action to prevent the fear materializing into sadness, because ultimately that's what's going to happen. If you don't stop the inevitable, if you don't stop what's going on now, you're going to switch from fear to sadness, to sorrow, in a moment. That's what you're trying to avoid through action, right? So clearly it's not something you like to do. Therefore, liking 0 again, not liking 1. Do we need to go any further, or are you beginning to see some tangible results here? Let's go back to the original question. What were the advantages? Actually, no, even before that, I asked you the question. We've got 2 t-shirts. Which of these 2 t-shirts serve the purpose of a t-shirt? Meaning, you can wear them, and it's going to give you protection from the elements, and it's simple. You know the purpose of a t-shirt, right? Which of these 2 t-shirts do that job, the job of a t-shirt? And they both do that job perfectly fine, just as well as each other. So, but you like one and you don't like the other. So there's no liking towards the other. Why? Well, exactly. Why? Are there advantages? No, there are no advantages. Because if you are comparing, does the t-shirt serve the purpose of a t-shirt? Liking the red t-shirt does not make it any more of a t-shirt than the blue t-shirt. What if you like the other one? What if you like the blue t-shirt and not the red t-shirt? That doesn't make the blue t-shirt any more of a t-shirt. It does not make the t-shirt serve a better job. It doesn't do a better job just because you like it. It's not like if you like the red t-shirt and you put it on and it says, "Thank you for wearing me. Have a nice day." The t-shirt's not going to say that. They're identical in every other way, except for the fact that they're different in color. Again, I remind you, I've only used color here because I need some factor to ask you the question, which one do you like versus the other, right? So color is not significant here, please do understand. So there are no advantages, but there are plenty of disadvantages. Disadvantages being sadness in the event something does happen. So this is sorrow. Okay. Fear in the event that something might happen. This is the unpredictableness, unpredictability. This is uncertainty. Something might happen, always worrying you, bothering you. It's a real annoyance. And then there's the action that has to be taken to prevent what it is you fear from coming true. Whatever it is you fear, whatever it is you're worried about, that you might spill the wine on your t-shirt, to prevent it from happening, you need to take action. Would you take that action on any other day? I mean, say there are no kids at home, you're just all by yourself. Would you actually say things like, "Stop playing, there's no one at home"? Right? Don't do that. Would you actually find yourself doing that? Clearly not. Don't try it, because in case someone hears you, they're going to take you to the mental asylum. So let's not try that at home. So clearly this action is to prevent what it is we fear from coming true, and it's not action that we like to do. We are doing it because we are left with no other choice. Doing something because there's no other choice does not qualify that action to be something that is done for joy. It's done to prevent a situation from worsening, from deteriorating. So therefore it's a disadvantage, right? So clearly we are seeing our results here. We've tested our results versus a real situation, and it's become clear to us that liking has 0 advantages. So what's the big deal? No advantages. Hey, so what? But just because it has got advantages doesn't mean it's harmless. Why? Because there are plenty of disadvantages. So it's not that liking is simply not harmless, it's actually harmful. It's full of harm. Why? Because of these disadvantages. And I ask you again this very important question. I want you to think about this. What good is liking serving you? Is a t-shirt any more of a t-shirt because you like it? Is the pen any more of a pen because you like it? I mean, if you liked it and the pen was easy to write with, or it lasted longer, or if it had, if you could just write with and it was a never-ending pen because you liked it, then hey, fantastic. Then we could say that liking has some advantages. But it's pretty obvious to us, liking has zero advantages. It doesn't do that. So there are no advantages, but plenty of disadvantages. Then I have to ask the question, after all, ultimately, this is the ultimate question. So why like after all? Why do you like it? I don't mean because I mean, why do you think liking something is a good thing? Why do we feel like liking something is just something so natural? What's the deal? What's so wrong about liking something or someone or some place? We like and we love, and all of these things are so they sound so harmless. Are they? Are they harmless, or are they harmful? Is there anything worse than liking? Is anything more precarious than liking something? Anything more dangerous than liking something? Why did you like it in the first place? Was it not because you thought it was going to bring you happiness? Was it not because you thought it was going to bring you joy? What is it bringing you after all? And when you like something, you want to make it yours. What are you trying to make yours after all? See? Sadness, fear, and painful action. Unnecessary, but given the circumstances, they become necessary. Why? Because you're in fear and you're worried and you want to free yourself. So you have to take action. But see, what happens, that action only takes you from fear to... It only keeps you from jumping from fear to sadness. Can you stop taking action? Of course not. Because even say today, right, you're at the party and you continue to take action, you chase the children away and nothing happens. You can breathe a sigh of relief. But what if it happens the following day again? Again, your same scenario, red t-shirt. Now this time it's not wine, it's beer, or it's grape juice, or you're eating something, or it's ice cream, whatever. Or you're walking on the road and it's a rainy day, there's a pool of muddy water just ahead of you, and you can see a car driving fast towards you. Have you never really had that situation? I've experienced that plenty of times, particularly when I was schooling back in Sri Lanka, because in Sri Lanka when you go to school after grade 9, if I remember correctly, we wear white, complete white, so trousers, long trousers and shirt, white. I don't know why they think that's a good idea, but that's the way it is, white. Of all people, school children wear white. Brilliant idea, right? So I remember plenty of times when it was a rainy day and we're just walking on the curb, and you see there's a pool of muddy water just ahead of you, and there's a car driving fast towards you. You know it's going to happen. There's only so much further you can run, and you know what sometimes what happens is, if it's really busy, if it's a really busy street and there's really not really any space to maneuver yourself, then there'll be those who come and take shelter from you. How unkind they are. But that has happened to me as well. They know that I'm stood in front of them. Sometimes they're a few steps ahead of me. What they'll do is they hasten and they'll come and stand right next to me, so that when the mud spurts, it's only all over me and not them. Right? And they don't have the kindness even to say thank you. But hey, That's such is life, and this is why I still wonder to this day, why was it ever decided that school children should wear white? But hey, that's the way it is. Maybe it was to teach us anicca. But hey, so if you know, all of us have been in that situation, so you're always in fear. I mean, not just that situation. I remember, because at my school it was very important that we kept our uniforms tidy, and I was always one of those guys who wanted to be neat and tidy. I always had my shoes polished and all that, so I didn't really like anyone putting on my shoes or anything like that. I was very particular about being very tidy and having a clean uniform. So you can imagine how much of a hassle that was, whether that was going public transport, getting into a school bus, or going and sitting down somewhere. You always had to wipe the chair to sit down. Whereas there were my mates who couldn't care two hoots about what they were sitting on. They just didn't care, didn't worry about it. Were they bad? No, of course they were not. And actually they were happier than I was, because I was in constant fear and worry what might happen. Someone spills something on my shirt. If I go and sit down somewhere, it's muddy. If it's a rainy day, then there's going to be muddy water. So it was constant fear and worry. Why? Because again, there is something that I like. I like my uniform to be clean. If I had no liking towards that, I would not have been so worried. I wouldn't have had to go through so much headache. So hopefully then it's clear that liking has zero advantages and there are plenty of disadvantages. Right? Pens, both of them can be used for writing, because that's what they were designed for, that's what they were built for. You like one pen more than the other. What advantage does it give you? Does it make it more of a pen than the other? Absolutely not. But what disadvantages does it offer you? Sad if you lose it, fear if you think you might lose it, and action to prevent losing it. Or other sorts of things happening to it. It's not just losing. What if you drop it? What if you drop it? If you drop it on the nib? Have you not had that situation where you're holding a pen in your hand and you knock it, or someone comes into you and it falls from your hand, and then you can almost see it in slow motion, right? The pen falling from your hand and it's moving towards the ground. That's when you start cursing gravity, and why did Newton ever discover this, right? So, and then you can almost you see your pen going and hit the ground, and the nib it dropping on the ground with the nib facing downwards, particularly if it happens during an exam. That's the worst time it can happen, right? During an exam. I've been there, so I know what it feels like. And you've got 10 minutes to finish your paper, and you've got 3 questions left to do, and the last thing you want is your pen dropping from your hand and falling, it nib facing downwards. You not had that situation. Then you pick up the pen, and then now you go into a frenzy. Now you start picking the pen and start scribbling everywhere just to check that it still writes. And sometimes you discover that it doesn't write. It's stopped writing, not because it hit nib, but because you're trying to use so much force on it to check if it's working. That's why it's not writing. So all of this is action. All of this involves fear and worry. And in the event of pens not writing, now of course you're sad, and you're all of this pain, suffering, and the rest of it. Where's the root of all this? Is that liking? Is that treacherous liking? Is this curse liking? Once again, any advantages? Did you hear me say out loud any advantage of liking? Can you think of any? Because I welcome you. Can you think of any advantage to liking something? You might say, well, I like this t-shirt, and when I see it, I feel really happy. Well, if you're saying that, then you haven't listened to the old ones. You know how happiness, based on any material liking happens. You like something, there's attachment, then go into vexation, relief from vexation, that's the happiness. So liking is not what brought you happiness. We know that. Right? So in other words, remember I said when you're leaving your friend's place that evening and you breathe that sigh of relief. Remember I talked to you about that? That sigh of relief was a sigh of happiness. Rather, a sigh of relief, I think, is a better word there. Your happiness there is that relief. What does relief mean? Relief means you were tensed up until that point. You're in a state of tension. What if something might happen? Actually, do you recall times where you stained, so you actually spilled wine or something else on a bit of clothing, and then you're waiting to come home and wash it. Maybe it was at the office, you spilled some coffee on your sari or your skirt or a blouse or a t-shirt or something, and you come home and you just can't wait to get to the washroom and start washing it. Right? You never have been there, and you start scrubbing it like scrubbing is going out of fashion, and you scrub it, and then you use everything you can find at home to try and get that blooming stain off. You start with water, doesn't work, then you move on to soap, that doesn't work, then you move on to shampoo, that doesn't work, then you move on to toothpaste, that doesn't work, then toilet cleaner, right? And then the dog cleaner, everything, right? Everything in the book you can think of, right? Everything comes out, right? There's salt and vinegar and everything you can imagine. And at the end of all that, now you got a bigger stain, not from the original stain, but all the stuff that you've been using on that piece of clothing. Why? So much vexation. So much vexation because you want to take it back to the state that you like to see it in. That's why. If you had no particular liking to it, there was one time where I actually had a sarong. Right? For those of you who are not familiar with that, just type it onto Google after the sermon, not now. And it's a item of clothing that mostly men wear in the southern part of the world. I think in various other parts it's a unisex item of clothing, but in Sri Lanka and India and most other parts, it's a sarong is something you wear to cover the bottom half of your body. So I was quite fond of wearing sarongs at home as a layperson, and there was once I had this sarong. I really didn't like it. It was about time to get rid of the thing. And one day I spilled something on it. I can't remember what it was exactly. And my mother came and asked me, "See, what have you done? See, now you need to go and clean it." And so I did try and wash it just to get the stain off, and it didn't go. So I just thought to myself, now it's batik. It's a batik sarong. So what's a batik sarong? Just Google it and you find out. So it's you have various patterns over your on that piece of clothing. That's what batik is. But in other words, it's how you make your mind up when you spill something on your clothing and you can't get it off. That's what batik is. So you'll all have been in these situations. Or another classic one is where you've invited someone to dinner, you laid the table out, right? Particularly this can be found with the women who are very particular about the way that their dish clothes and the tablecloth and all the other lovely things that they have at home. And as someone tries to serve themselves, say some curry, okay, and then they've taken a little bit too much into their spoon. And what happens as they move the spoon to their plate? Some curry, some gravy drops from the spoon, and again time freezes. Right? So time freezes, and now you can see that drop moving with the help of gravity towards the tablecloth, and then it hits the tablecloth with a huge bang. You can hear it, can't you? You can hear it. You can almost hear it. And now, how are you feeling? Now you just want them to leave so you can go and take it to the washroom and be washed, or take it to the dry cleaners. And sometimes if you liked it so much, that tablecloth, this person that you invited to have dinner with, all of a sudden you begin to hate that person. I've seen people like that. You were having a really friendly conversation with them, and then a moment later, it usually is followed by a quick glance between the two of them. Right? The person who dropped the gravy looks at the person who owns the tablecloth, and they share a few moments. They look at each other in the eyes and try to gauge what the other person's thinking. This one saying, "I'm really, really, really sorry," without saying it out loud. The other saying, "Curse you. Don't you ever come back here again." Right? So all these things happening. Why? Where's the culprit? Where does it all tie back to? Yes, liking. Advantages? Any? Have you found any yet? Advantages? I'm talking about all these disadvantages. Have you found any advantage yet? Absolutely none. And then yet all these disadvantages. So see, we need to open our eyes then, folks, and try to understand, why do we do things which bring us no advantage but all the disadvantages? Why? Why do we trouble ourselves? After all, it's not anyone else doing it to us. We are bringing this curse upon ourselves. We need to understand that liking is superfluous to what purpose we use the object to achieve. It is not helping. It does not make the object that we like any better at what it can do. It does not make it faster. It does not make it neater. It does not make it more fancy. Nothing. Liking has no advantages. Zero. Absolutely zero. Zilch. Nothing. Absolutely none. But despite that, plenty of disadvantages. Why? So why do we like then? We should begin to first understand how much liking is a self-made curse. It's a self-created curse. This is how we curse ourselves, by liking things or people or events, anything that is conditional. The moment you like something, you have just brought upon yourself a curse. You know how people used to curse each other, right? Back in the old days, you have this curse word, and sometimes you chant a spell to curse someone. Now you watch things like Merlin, you know what I'm talking about, or Harry Potter, they curse. You curse someone using a spell, normally. How does one curse oneself? I like, and then just follow it with anything you want to fill it with. I like you. You've just cursed yourself. So if someone comes and says, "Hey, I really like you," your response back is, "Why do you curse yourself?" They're actually cursing themselves. Like is a curse word. Like a swear word, it's a curse word. It's a word that one uses to curse themselves. Because just think about it. This is not because I'm saying so. We are seeing real life evidence of this. How many examples did we talk about now? And on each of these examples, what are we seeing? Zero advantages, but plenty of disadvantages. There's either sadness, there's fear, or there's action that has to be taken to prevent the fear from materializing, which is not fun. If it were, you'd be doing it regardless. You'd be doing it anyway, but you don't. So why then? Why do we invite liking into our lives? It's when you begin to understand how much liking is a curse, then you want to free yourself from that curse. Until you have seen that, until you have realized that, you don't want to do anything about it. Because we have always learned to see liking as a blessing. Just think about it. Just be honest to yourselves. When someone said, "I really like you," how did that make you feel? Or when you felt that you liked someone? We talk about butterflies in the stomach. We talk about, he's feeling on top of the world, and you ask him, what's the deal? I really like this girl. I've got a crush on her. We've been there and we've seen other people like that. When someone likes something, they think that everything's just perfect in their lives. And then they wait for that thing to materialize. They wait for whatever they like to come true. Little do they know that what they're waiting is for fear turning to sadness. And the moment they get what they want, now it's a constant case of you need to protect it, you need to look after it, you need to safeguard it, you need to feed it, sustain it, maintain it. Essentially become a slave to it. That's what liking does. Makes you a slave. To like is to slave. So put your hand up if you're not a slave. We're all slaves. We're all slaves of something or the other. Anything that we like, we have given up our freedom. We have laid our freedom down at its feet. Do you want to know the place you left your freedom? You'll find some of it in your fridge, where you lost your freedom. You gave up your freedom. You surrendered your freedom. Go find it. Some of it will be in the fridge. Some of it will be in your car. If you want to go and find your freedom, go find it. Some of it will be in your car. Some of it will be in your wardrobe. How many pairs of shoes have you got? Beside each of them will be part of the freedom that you came into this world with. And then bit by bit, you surrendered your freedom. You gave it up so freely, so willingly. And then we had the audacity to complain that there were other people from other parts of the world who came and took away our freedom. How untrue. What's the point of achieving freedom if we are not free? What is the point of celebrating an Independence Day if you're not free? Go and find freedom. You will find it in the very places you left it. As I said, some of it will be in the garage. Some of it will be in your fridge. Some of it will be on the TV stand. Most of it will be in your living room. Some of it you will find at your wife's feet. Some of it you will have given away to children. Large portion of it. Some of it will be in the office. In that glass desk you have. And that big chair that you like to sit and swirl around in. Looking outside the glass paned windows that you have, you'll find some of your freedom there. Some of it will be in your garden. All those trees that you water every day and you go and tend to them. make sure they're blooming and they're blossoming and they're well fed and well watered, you'll find your freedom. Some of it will be tucked away in your computer folders. Your freedom. Some of it will be in your phone. Some of it will be in your pockets right now. Some of it will be in your wallet. Hope not, and have a glance. You'll find your freedom there. How come? You left it there. Some of it will be in your dressing table, or on your dressing table, in your jewelry box. You'll find your freedom. Just to look around and see everything you have at home, all of the things you've collected over the years, including the four walls that surround all of them, and the roof, and the floor, and the carpets, and the curtains. All of that was once your freedom. But no more. All of that was once your freedom. You gave up. Slavery has become second nature to us. So we almost come into this world, and the first thing that everybody wants their children to do is to become slaves. Mothers want their children to become slaves. Right in the cot. Here, baby, look what I brought for you. Look at this, darling. Don't you like it? And you see a smile on the baby's face. You can be assured you've just stolen some of your innocent child's freedom. That's it. Now it's a slippery slope from there. Every little thing that they begin to like, they become a slave to, and therefore they give up, surrender their freedom for good. So really, when a man on his deathbed, towards the end of his life, having lived 80 years, 85 years, 90 years, he's on his deathbed now. How much freedom do you think remains with him? Why do you think he looks so weary? His whole body is frail. What used to be a smile is now a frown. Wrinkly face, grey hair. Withered away, weak. What is this evidence of? They lost their freedom. This is evidence of slavery. Why again? Because they liked. Everything you like is another thing to which you give up your freedom, and you become a slave. So is it not time then to open your eyes and realize this? That liking is the curse that you brought upon yourself. Now there are apps these days you can lose your freedom to. I think they're called dating apps. So they could almost have a slogan: dating app, we take away your freedom. So most of the time they don't just take away your freedom, they take away your money, your hard-earned cash. So again, I'm asking you, what are the advantages? Freedom's lost. Fear introduced. Sadness, sorrow introduced. Action that you don't like and you wouldn't have taken any other time introduced. Lost your money, lost your freedom. What are the advantages? How much more do I need to prove this to you? How many more times must we go through this? When is enough enough? When are you going to open your eyes and look upon the curse that you have brought upon yourself? Say, enough liking, it's time to stop. Every tear that drops out of all the eyes of every human being on this planet is because they like something. Come on, is there a worse curse on humankind? Every teardrop, every cry you hear across all of the homes, in all of the lands, in all of the countries across the globe, it's because someone somewhere likes something. Tell me, is there a worse curse than liking? It is what ruins you and rots you from the inside. Liking. Liking brings you no advantage. Just a package of disadvantages. That's all it is. Its whole purpose is to ruin you, to destroy you, and to mortify you. When are you going to stop it? When are you going to put a stop to it? When are you going to say enough is enough and stand up to it? When are you going to embrace the teaching of the Buddha? Because, to listen to these sermons is one thing, but then to take action and to really free yourself is another. You could say, every Sunday we listen to these sermons, really nice Swami Nuhansi, very, very interesting sermons he gives. Right? He's very well spoken and lovely sermons. Right? You get this lovely commentary about these sermons, right? Talk to you about them with your friends over a glass of wine. And I'm asking you, when are you going to take action? I can just imagine. I don't think it's everybody, but I can just imagine some people. And please don't think I'm sounding condescending here. I just sense this, and I want you to break out of this. If you are one of them, I want you to break out of this. Right? Because I have seen people like this, fortunately. In my encounters with people in society, even as a layperson, I have seen people like this, and they'll talk about things that make them sound important and make them look posh among everyone else. So they'll talk about their businesses, they'll talk about their jobs, they'll talk about their husbands, they'll talk about their wives, they'll talk about their children's schools and their education, and how some of their children are in France, and others are in Italy, and others are in England, and others are in Australia and in Canada. And then they'll talk about, I've got this really lovely lawyer. He tends to all my needs. And he's a really good lawyer. You should. If you ever need a lawyer, tell me. Then I've got this really nice doctor. He's so good. He knows his stuff. He's a very good doctor. Oh, and by the way, I also got this monk. He's very good sermons, lovely sermons. Oh, fantastic sermons they are. You should listen to it once in a while. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, that holiday we are talking about, going to Hawaii. When are we planning it? Please don't talk about me in that context. I beg of you. If you ever feel like you want to, to use the phrase blow one's trumpet. If you want to blow your trumpet about this lovely monk that who gives this lovely sermons. Oh, fantastic, well-spoken monk, he knows stuff. Please don't talk about me, because that's not what I'm here for. again, I don't mean to insult anybody, but if you feel that I'm insulting you, then perhaps you need change. Because all talk and no walk is not going to get you anywhere. Action is what's going to take you from wherever you are right now to your freedom. Enough to like, enough to bondage, enough to attachment. It's time to move on. It's time to open our eyes. It's time to realize that we need to regain our lost freedom. As I said, because the next week, just walk around your house, take a moment, walk around and see, look at all the places you left your freedom. You'll find bits of it. Some of it might be rusty by now. It's been several years since you laid down your freedom. Walk around your house, you'll find your freedom. There'll be bits and pieces scattered everywhere. Walk around, find it. I think it's time to. Otherwise, when are you going to do it? You need to ask yourself, how much longer do I want to remain a slave? How much longer? Do you have a showcase at home? Cupboard with a glass, the glass and on the front of it, the front facade, and you put all your lovely cutlery in there. And in the old days, they used to put their empty alcohol bottles. The olden days, I've seen people do that. In old arak bottles and beer bottles and stuff like that. I mean, just to say that I'm posh. Why? Because I drink. This is the brand that I drink. If you have that, just ask yourself: have you not lost some of your freedom? Is that what your showcase is showcasing? The fact that you lost your freedom? I'm not saying today go and empty it. That's not what I'm saying. Leave it. Fine, leave it. It's not like I'm going to come around and look at it. Leave it. But just ask yourself, have you got in there all the things to which you lost your freedom? To regain it does not require you to open it up and throw all the things in there away. That you don't need to do that. You just need to open your eyes. No, not those eyes, your real eyes. When you open your real eyes, you will realize. Wisdom eye. Open those eyes. And then you will realize. You will realize that your liking is what took away your freedom. That's what destroyed you inside out. Tore away your happiness. I mean, come on, because we can do something about it. We are still human, we can do something about it. If you can hear me loud and clear, you can still do something about it. If you're awake, you can do something about it. If you've got strength and stamina, you can do something about it. If you're willing to put in the time and the effort, you can do something about it. The last 50 years of your life does not have to be the same as the next 5. You can change it. You can change the next 5. It does not have to be the same as the last 50. If you are due to die at 55, the next 5 years will be your last. If you have already lived 50, or the next 5 years don't have to be like the last 50. You can change. You can change today. Starting today, change. Realize the curse that you brought upon yourself. Liking is based in ignorance. to consider something to be pleasurable, joyful, essenseful, that's where you lost it. You lost the plot. That was how you concocted this curse. That is how the spell was brought together. Change. It's time to change. It's time to move on. Time to free yourself. Time to liberate yourself. Time to stop being anyone or anybody's slave. So take action. Okay? So one last time I ask you, what are the advantages? What good have you ever gained by liking something more than the other? What good has ever come into your life? Any advantages? But what about the disadvantages? Your car is no more a car because you like it. Your house is no more a house because you like it. It's no more of a house because you like it. And the same goes for anything. So liking is simply a curse that you bring upon yourself. Along with that comes sorrow, along with that comes fear, and along with that comes action. Action, this action that you would any other time would not like to take. Abhisankara, action that you would like to avoid, but action you have to take because you have no other choice. Okay? So we've gone back to basics today again. In summary, hopefully this has been useful as a reminder also to our regulars, just in case you are beginning to lose ground in your basics. Now, after all, as I said, if you have been following the things that we talked about last week's application of the Dhamma, then from time to time going back to the basics is so useful. It's really, really useful. So I will continue to do that. So please don't think this is not for me because I'm a pro. I don't need the outer stuff. Don't ever think like that. That would be foolish to think like that. Okay, so there was a homework I gave you. Walk around the house. Take a stroll around your house. Walk into the garden. Walk into all the rooms, the bedrooms, the kitchens. Did you hear me say kitchens? Do you have kitchens at home? Maybe. Some people may have kitchens at home. That was when one kitchen wasn't enough and you needed two. Then go to your bathrooms and your living rooms and your gyms. Look at all the places you lived, or rather you lost your freedom. Go pick up the pieces. Take a bag with you so you can pick up all the lost pieces. Take a marker pen, write freedom on your bag, and then walk around the house and then pick up all the freedom that you lost. So today the only things I own are my 3 robes and my alms bowl. I don't own anything else. Materially, nothing else. There's of course my body I need to look after until I have completed my journey. There's my mind I need to keep sane, and then on top of that, alms bowl and my 3 robes. If you'd seen me 3 years ago, very different story. So what I did, I went around and I picked up the pieces. I thought myself, enough is enough. I didn't come here to surrender my freedom to all these material things. I came into this world looking for my freedom. I'm not going to be losing it to every Tom, Dick and Harry and every man and his dog. I want my freedom back. So I went around getting back my freedom. So walk around the house, you'll find some interesting stuff. You'll find some places, some things that you didn't even realize you lost your freedom. You'll find some old photo albums, 10 years, 15, 20, 25 years old. Perhaps some of them have some sentimental value to you. In other words, that's somewhere you lost your freedom. You know how you've probably seen in some places where like the Ingiriya, where, people are often advised not to draw marks and on the rocks. But for those of you who don't know Ingiriya, any other place, sometimes in buses and various other places, people they go and etch or they mark their names, and suddenly their I was here, or Tom was here, right? And they just like to leave a mark, like how dogs do. Right? They walk around and go to the trees and they lift leg, and they mark the spot like I was here. Right? People also have this habit. It must be stuff that they carry over from previous births, but people have these habits. Perhaps something you can do is walk around your house and just put a little note. I lost my freedom here. And as you walk around, give one to your wife. And then to go to your children, just put this in your pocket. A little bit of paper that will say, I lost my freedom here. I lost my freedom here. In every place here you lost your freedom. The points of interest where you lost your freedom. If you have, say, 10 houses in wherever you live in your country, 10 houses, right? You can go on Google Maps and just put a mark there where I lost my freedom. I lost my freedom here. And at the workplace you can put a mark, I lost my freedom here. And all the places you've been, sightseeing, everywhere you've been on holiday, you can mark them on Google Maps and just put a note, a caption, I lost my freedom here. Or once upon a time, here I was a slave. You can put a caption. Does this hurt? I'm just asking you to open your eyes and realize the curse that you brought upon yourself. So please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what you did to yourself. I didn't do this to you. You did it to yourself. This is why you can also free yourself. You locked yourself, now you can unlock yourself. The path to that is crystal clear. It's perfect in every way. Given to us by the perfect one. It's perfect in every way. It's so clear. With every day that we put this into practice, the more free we become. I can say it because I can experience it. And for those of you who are on the path to practice it, you will know what I'm talking about. But for those of you, if I don't think there are any of you, but just in case, maybe in future, 100 years from today, when someone listens to this sermon, if there's one or some among you, who talk about, hey, you know what, I have this fine monk that I listen to his sermons, right? Lovely guy. Every Sunday, this is 100 years ago, right? So 100 years ago he used to preach some nice sermons, right? Very well spoken, explains the Dhamma very well. What's the point if you're not practicing it? This is not another badge you can wear on your shirt. Become an arahant one day. Then you can say, there was a monk who gave these sermons. Then you don't need to say I practice it, because we know you did. Then you can talk about me after you have become an arahant. Okay, so we will leave it there for today. Hope I've given you something to think about. And be heedful. Time is passing by, week upon week. There's no I don't think the curfews and the social distancing policies are going to be withdrawn anytime soon. So do make sure that you put into practice what you learn from these sermons. Vesak is just around the corner. So Thursday, Vesak will be upon us, which is a significant day for Buddhists, more so I suppose in a cultural sense than in a religious sense. But it's a good day to put into, so dedicate the day towards your spiritual practice. There will be a program that we will be streaming from the monastery, so you can join along with that. Keep an eye out for announcements that will be coming through the usual social media channels, so Skype and the likes. It will be broadcast on YouTube. The program on the day, I think we are scheduled to start around 6:30 or 7 in the morning. Just wait for the timetable to come out. So there will be timetable, probably be sometime later today. It'll have the program on there. It'll be mostly in Sinhala, but I think for most of you that shouldn't be a problem. And as much as you possibly can, try and engage with the activities that we have scheduled for you. Some of those programs have been put together specifically for this for Vesak, and a lot of people have put in a lot of work to making it happen. So hopefully those who we do this for, that is yourselves, will make the effort to make use of it. It will be worth your while if you take the effort to do it. So you can observe still from home, and the precepts will be given over the broadcast, so you can do that, and then you can revert to your 5 precepts at the end of the day. So there's a detailed program which will be coming to you in the near future, probably be today or early tomorrow. Just keep an eye out for that. And please don't forget your timetable. Just a reminder again, because you have a lot of free time now, and when you have lots of free time is when you particularly need a timetable, as I have reminded you in the past. So please make sure you go and check the timetable. Put some review time in your timetable. That's very important. At least once a week. I've got it 3 times a week to review the timetable, just to make sure that your week is going as planned, or if there are things in the week that you need to move and shift here and there, to make sure that you're making progress in terms of your goals and moving towards your ambition of attaining nirvana. This is what timetable will be helpful towards. So I'm hoping you are doing all those things, and of course it goes without saying, please stay safe and stay home, I think is the slogan these days. But there's plenty of things to be doing when you're at home, so just a reminder of all those things you can be doing to make sure you make progress on your spiritual journey. Okay, so on that note, we'll conclude the sermon then. If there are any among you who would like to observe Sil on the Vesak Poya Day, but who are not familiar with the singular sermons, you can still join in to observe the precepts, and then whenever they have a singular sermon, there's plenty of English sermon material on YouTube, so you can always go back and listen to that. So, just be creative, and I'm sure you'll find the best ways to spend your day. There'll also be events like the puja, which you can also do at home. So you can make the offerings at home, and then you can join with the reciting of gathas and all that, which will also be streamed. So you can keep the offerings at home and then join in with the program, and you can do it that way. Okay, so try and make sure you join with that. And one last thing before I forget, I am interested in getting an idea about about our audience, or more so the demographics of our audience who join the English sermon, i.e. where you're located, what sort of what age groups you are, male, female, and so on and so forth. This is more to help understand who the audience is, because a lot of you I have obviously not seen. Very few of you I have actually seen coming to the monastery, but I think and I understand there are quite a few of our listeners who I don't get to see, and in order that we can further improve our programs for our English sermon listeners, we have some plans already, and more about that later. I would like to get an idea about our demographics, so I have asked our teams to prepare a short survey to get some information from you. It's not going to be going out today, but this is just a heads up, this is coming. So please, when the survey comes to you, please share it with those who actually join the sermons. So this is not just a task or activity to collect names from random people. I have no interest in doing that. This is simply to study, to get an idea of who our listeners are, where they're located, and sort of what their interests are, and perhaps any issues that they face when they join sermons. Get an idea of that will help us to better plan and program our events in the future. So I want to find more about you so that we can help you better. This is the intention. So that will be going out perhaps in the next week or so. So just keep an eye out for that and prepare yourselves to respond to it, which will help us help you better. Okay. So that's just another thing I thought I should mention. Okay, so let us transfer the merits then, and we will bring the sermon to a close. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay, so first and foremost, let us once again remind ourselves we are so extremely fortunate to be in receipt of the Buddha's teaching because of the Bhikkhu Bhikkhunis Upasikas, who since time immemorial protected and preserved the teaching of the Supreme Enlightened One, the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the Magnificent One, the Infinitely Virtuous One, and passed it down through the generations, through the noble lineage, and in the form of the Tripitaka, which is today available to us to study, analyze, understand, and comprehend. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to all of them members of the Mahasangha, resident throughout the world, who have dedicated their lives to practicing the path, and also to dedicate parts of their time, large parts of their time, towards the deliverance of all sentient beings, including you and I. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to Guru Swami Nuhanse, as well as all the other monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas, and also, not forgetting for a moment, the monks and nuns who are resident in local temples and nunneries. It may be perhaps that you are unable to come to this monastery, but you are able to visit a local temple, perhaps, where there will be monks who have, as usual, always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our parents, our siblings, our relations, neighbors, teachers, so on and so forth, our co-workers, our colleagues, and various other people who have come into our lives at different points to help us, to support us, to assist us. In whatever capacity they have extended their generosity towards us, may they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. And may through the power of these merits, if any of them have today been born in woeful states, redeem themselves, and may they be born in the blissful plan. May through the power of these merits they abstain from meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons, and those who have predeceased us. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the men and women who lost their lives in the long war that ensued in Sri Lanka, including the members of the armed forces and the police force who dedicated their lives to protecting and preserving the peace and harmony of our country, as well as those who would have lost their lives, be they friend or foe. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to those men, women, and children who might have lost their lives in the recent pandemic, as well as those who have dedicated their waking hours to helping those who have been affected tirelessly. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us extend our gratitude towards them by passing on these merits. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in woeful state, be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful pain. May through the power of these merits they abstain from non-meritorious deeds, fulfill meritorious deeds, fulfill noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all those who have dedicated large portions of their time to propagating the teaching of the Buddha throughout the world for the benefit of all humanity, in promoting these sermons as well as any other Buddhist sermons that they may have come across to their friends, family, as well as others throughout the world, in making these sermons available to them either in electronic media or in transliterating these sermons and making them available for offline reading. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the power of all the merits that we have all acquired today, in listening to the Dhamma, in preaching Dhamma, in making offerings to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, may we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahat and Mahanses and Arahat Mehin Mahanses in this blessed land, in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, through the power of all these spirits, we become one of those Arahat and Mahanses, one of those Arahat Mehin Mahanses in this life itself, and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, dvesha ginnen midetva, moha ginnen midetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Raga gini niveva, desha gini niveva, moha Sapalabewa Nivan Sapalabewa Nivan Sapalabewa Tunuruwan Yesus Anantaha Gunabalem Siruloka Sil Satyo Nibbana Paramasukhayen Suvitatarveta. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the noble triple gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We will conclude the sermon on that note. May the noble triple gem be with you all.